This is Moabi Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We enthuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Hello and welcome, Moabi Nuggets of Wisdom family. Welcome to our podcast. We've been together now 5 years. By that I mean this is our year number 5. And this is our first shooting for 2024. I'm super excited that you've stayed with us for this long. If you are new to this channel, please do the honorable thing. Strike that subscribe button just so that you can help us with the algorithms, help us with our growth on this particular channel. It really makes a huge difference. You won't believe just what the difference it makes. Just strike that button. And as always, we bring you life-changing business content. Our ethos is to enthuse, to energize, to inspire, and to empower you. And in the area of entrepreneurship, and I'm sure from the feedback I've been getting, there's nothing as exciting as going in the bank and somebody says, Mr. Moabi, yeah, that episode, when you spoke to so-and-so, I was impacted. When you shared on this, I was impacted. So hopefully we'll do exactly that today. We're going to talk about filmmaking. We're going to talk about it as an art and as a science. And who better to talk about it than Moabi Mogorosi, who's my guest, and he's going to introduce himself more fully. Go ahead, Mogorosi.
Thank you very much. My name is Moabi Mogorosi. I'm from Kanye. Ke
khosana go go ra mo dikanele. Okay.
So I'm a filmmaker. I started making films in 1994 till present. Yes, I started with workshops, and then from there I went to study in the US. Then I came back home to change the world, and Botswana changed me.
Okay, that's great. And what sort of academic coverage was that in terms of degrees?
I did. I've got a degree in cinema, so with specialty in writing and directing. But I took longer than the degree is 4 years because I didn't know at that time. It's 95. I didn't know.
You finished in 95?
No, I started in 95.
Okay.
Official my studies. So I didn't know who I was going to find.
Very
the
young
landscape.
You must also tell me about your secret of maintaining your youth.
Yes, sir. And so I wanted to study almost everything because there were no established filmmakers then. I was the first one to be sponsored by government. So I studied for 7 years. I took all the classes for the degree and masters, but of course I was only given for the degree. So I studied almost everything: writing, directing, acting, cinematography. I just milked it all because I didn't know what was going to happen once I came here. So but it's important to do so.
At what point did you decide that filmmaking is your passion, and how did that come about?
It started when I was in secondary school at Naledi. The thing is that I don't know, maybe I used to be an introvert. I don't know if I'm still an introvert. So I was always carrying my school bag, weekends and things, going to the library and all these things. My only entertainment that I'm aware of, it was going to Capital Cinema at the main mall. Run by the Desai run by the Desai family. We had nicknames that cannot be mentioned.
No, we cannot.
And
sometimes I wonder how they came about.
Run by the Desai family, father and daughter, and they were just excellent, hardcore. So I watched
Capital Cinema.
Yes, Capital Cinema.
The main mall.
Main mall. It was my favorite place, and so the movies that I watched after some time, I think when I was 16, I started asking, how do they who are these people? Who puts this thing together? That was the seed that was planted. But I think the primary seed also was the stories that my mother told. My mom told us folk tales. Dinani, and then, but not only in the traditional form. She will tell Dinani as we know them, but also if she watches a movie or had any interesting stories from anywhere, she will tell it, and she's such a vivid storyteller. And
Wow.
I think that's what really inspired me. And I said, you know what my mom does at home.
See, they had a special talent. Night was with my grandmother.
Yes.
Mutsidis.
Yes.
Mama Sadimoto is what we call her.
Yes.
She would tell them in Technicolor.
Yes.
Abuaka muta.
Yes.
And you feel your hair.
Exactly.
Kokwana muta. Story saka muta le tau.
Le tau,
That
yes.
time pa kami ko godimo ko
Eh,
petsa magata ka hamara.
ka speaker.
Hey, the way she used to say those stories.
Yes.
Yeah, so your mother was like that too.
Yes.
Yeah. Dangling that thing.
Yes. Hey. No, my mother is still like that, and my grandmother also was like that. But I think a generation of storytellers, my great grandmother gave it to my grandmother, and my grandmother gave it to my mom, and I inherited storytelling from my mother. So
Okay, that's exciting. Speaking of storytelling, I hope you don't mind being shameless and marketing it. It's only $3.99. You just need to call my PA on 397-1368 and or contact me, and the book is yours. It's storytelling. The people I'm telling you about, I mentioned them here. But anyway, this is not about me, it's about you. So when did it all start in terms of now it becoming a company, it becoming a business? Maybe you can take us through that journey.
Well, I did my national service in Francistown. I was teaching agricultural science there. So when I came back, I thought, because people said I was good at what I do, I thought in between, while I was waiting to go to the US, I'll do temporary teaching, but I never got the chance. So I was always looking for a job, going every single day. I'll dress up, look for a job. I never got it. One day I was extremely tired.
Where were you looking for jobs?
Schools.
As what?
Schools, as a temporary teacher. Because I thought my experience as a Tirelo Sechaba participant was good enough, and I had really great references from the Mr. Habangana, the head teacher of Donga then. And so
You penned a nice letter.
yes, yes, a really nice letter. So, but I never got anything. But it was also sometimes a blessing, because it led me to other things. I remember one day as I was coming from one of the places where I was looking for a job, I was tired. I wanted to go to my sister's place to.
This is late 90s.
Like this is 1994, and I wanted to go to my sister's place to get something to eat. And I passed by Thornhill, and the security guard there said, "Son, can you get me that old newspaper over there?" So I went and I picked the newspaper, and as I picked the newspaper, next to it there was another one with a very visual design. There was a picture that caught my attention. So I went and I gave him the newspaper, and I went back for that one. And in the cover, it was a picture of Dr. Tlinam Klopp. Then it was just Tlinam Klopp, a renowned storyteller from South Africa. And the headline said, "Let me tell you a story." And then I read it, and then I said, "Oh my God, I got a job." I ran to my sister, "I've got a job." So because it talk about the art of storytelling, my mother does this, I can do this. And so I got something to eat. Then I went straight to my tuition festival. I talked to David Slater. I said, "Mr. Slater, I want to start a storytelling festival." He said, "Have you ever done it?" I said, "No." So he started teaching me how to organize festivals.
Why did you pick Slater?
Because my Tisong was the place. It was the only place that I knew of. It was the only place where festivals happen and things like that. So that's why I went to my Tisong. And then
a storytelling festival.
Yes. So we applied. There were some funds that were there, I think from somewhere in Europe. So that Botswana had access to then. And so I applied. The budget was a lot of money, 4,500
those days.
Yes. So I got it. And so the festival happened. I invited Tina, but she didn't manage because she was engaged somewhere else. So she sent another storyteller called Dinana Kukama, and she workshopped us. And then after the storytelling festival was a great success, my mother took pictures. I went to the museum. The photographers at the museum, Stephen Mohatsu, and so they...
The same Stephen Mohatsu from FNB?
No, sorry, Steve Mogorosi. Steve Mogorosi.
Okay.
Sorry for that. Steve Mogorosi, who just was the outgoing director of the museum. Then he supervised that, and the photographer under him, so they took a picture of that. It was my mom and kids in Tlokweng. There's a heart in Tlokweng. So plastered all over the country. My brothers were so excited. My mother is famous. Our mother is famous. And so she came to the workshop, and there's a gentleman called Khotlam Polaisa. They were the most loved storytellers coming out of that festival. I also did well.
She shared one of the...
She shared one of the stories.
The Mutla stories.
Yes, Mutla and Pukoje, and so Khotlam Polaisa shared Chuele, and Pamela Soko did another one, a bed called Sankambe, and many others, you know. So, and I also participated. My story also was received well, but I think at that time, the ones that I think were the audience favorite was those three that I mentioned, Khotlam Polaisa, my mother, and Pamela Soko. That all of us did well, but those three, they stood out. So, and so that energized me when I went to the States the following year to study film. So, so I studied in Chicago. I was in Chicago.
What became of that festival, storytelling festival? Is it still?
I left it with those who stayed behind, because we form a group called It's a Group of Storytellers. So I did that, and then the following year I also did Talent 95. So it was sort of like a AGT before AGT. I did Talent 95, which combines storytellers, musicians, ballroom dancers. But the Talent 95.
So it's BGT, Botswana's Got Talent.
Yes. So that one, those that I left behind, they turned it into what is called Eta Botswana, which was actually run by Motserehanye and the current deputy peers in MySec, Tebogo Matebesi, who's a fantastic actor. So
why is storytelling so important to us as Africans, as people? Why is it important to be intentional and organized about telling our stories?
It fits the soul. Storytelling fits the soul. It's what inspires you. It's a seed for the unseen. You know, if I listen to your story, it can only be storytelling that can inspire somebody like you to do the kind of business, to be a visionary that you are. Without stories, it's like somebody walking with dementia.
Dementia?
Yes, because you only know what is in front of you. Not making fun of the disease, I can't do that, but I'm just saying that, storytelling is important, is key to how we dream, how we inspire, how we
get things
done. You know, all great leaders are great. Majority of great leaders, the best leaders are great storytellers, because how you move people from one place to another. You have to tell them a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's the reason I wrote the book.
Exactly.
Now, in America, what did you study exactly?
In America, I studied film. It was under the Department of Cinema. I studied writing and directing. Yes, those were Columbia College Chicago. Those were the primary courses, but of course you learn everything else, like for acting for the camera. You learn other things, because if you're going to be the director, you have to know other jobs, and so and then you have to also do internships and other things over the course of the years. And since I was so focused, I did a lot of things in those years, and made good marks. And that's when, while I was there also, I wrote what was then labeled as the first film in Botswana. But that means is that it doesn't really mean it was the first thing ever that was shot, and that it means it was the first professional major film. Hot Chili.
Huh?
Hot Chili. I did it in 1980.
90 minutes film?
No, it's a weird length. It's a very weird length. It's 45
minutes.
It's not a short film. It's not a feature length. So it's a very weird length. So
when was this?
I 98.
98, you see.
Yeah, 98. But before then, when I started, because I'm a student of cinema, I learned from history that Kosipilani used to have a 16mm camera and just get a little things in Muchudi around, like, somebody cooking this. Those are films. Because even in the olden days, people used to do those.
Those films.
Yes. The Arrival of a Train. That's a movie, because from still pictures to motion pictures, just seeing a train arriving, it's like amazing. It's moving. So you cannot discount those as films. They are films. And that's our foundation. So we learn from that's the foundation that those who came before us laid, the foundation they laid for us.
Tell me about your first film. What is it about, and how did it do?
Well, it's an adaptation of a folk tale. Muta and other animals. So what I did, because I watched a lot of superhero films, a lot of these, and I was always seeing the Americans at the lead, and I said, how does one change this? How do you make the world compete, and then you have a Botswana, specifically Botswana as the lead? So I changed one of the stories to Muka, and I created a contest. It was inspired by a folk tale about Muka. I said that there was this beautiful girl, the most beautiful girl in the world, and the king wanted the best man, the best male in the world to win his daughter's hand in marriage. So, and of course, people came from all over the world, because all of them wanted this lady. And so some came showcasing their wealth, some how all the things they will make them physical prowess, and anything that will make them
special.
Yeah, special. But the king said, no. To win my daughter's hand in marriage, you must drink a bowl of hot chili soup.
Yeah.
Without saying.
Yeah. Without making that noise.
Yeah. Oh, they thought it was a simple task, but they're in for it.
Yeah.
Even those from India could not handle it.
It was really concentrated.
It was really concentrated. And only a young gardener from Botswana made it.
Okay. So you obviously don't want to give the story away.
Yes.
How you did it. And tell me, where is the film available now?
It's it did quite well in festival circuits. It played around the world, and then from
like where, John? Cannes?
No, I wish different festival around the world, African Film Festival in LA, in Chicago, in Oregon, in Italy, and South Africa, different festivals, Sitinge Film Festival before it closed, Durban International Film Festival, and so many others around the world. It did quite well. And Commonwealth Film Festival in Manchester, and it played in 2003 and 4 on BTV.
No.
And then it closes. The movie that closed, there was a cinema at the Grand Palm. So before it closed, they played my movie for a month. Yes, and it was launched there. It was launched by former President Festus Mogae. It was a big launch.
Congratulations!
It was a big launch.
Great.
Yes, and so many pledged. I was going to make really expensive movies after that, but then I learned quite quickly that pledges is not funding. Pledges are just pledges. So and
then of course you now started making it a business.
Yes.
What is the business model?
Well, I'm beginning to understand business. I think when I started, I just said, I'm a good storyteller, I'm a good filmmaker, so I'll just make movies and I'll be okay. And I was in for it. But I had a little bit of an idea, because while I was in the US, I saw how successful filmmakers worked. The filmmakers like the makers of Soul Food, the movie Soul Food. So the director had a producer, a friend of his, a producer. So the two of them, because the director is such a nerd, and the producer is the one who goes look for funding and other things. We've got great people skills. So when I came back, I looked for entrepreneurs that I knew, tried to train them to become producers, and then I can just focus in being a good director, writer. So that was a great idea, but it didn't quite work. Yes, it didn't quite work because they had other interest, and some thought, maybe I can do this myself with somebody else, because I seem to been very aware of the landscape and what needs to be done. And some people, I think they tend to want to be the one guiding the ship. So it was a very long journey. But then later on, I realized that, as they say, it's show business. It's not just show. So I understand how to balance.
Some people forget the business part of show business.
Majority of us artists, majority of us, you don't file your taxes.
And you have to show your hands, by the way. Show
yes.
business.
Yeah.
Express yourself.
We majority of us don't. So when you register a company, you don't take care of your books, you don't file your taxes properly, or you don't do it at all. All those are bad for any kind of business, and so majority of artists don't take care of that. So if you don't do that, your art will not be supported. For example, if you are, I don't do tenders, but if you're into that, then you can't tender, because then your books are not right, you don't have tax clearance and all those things. Even if you don't tender those things, by law you have to do them, right? So I started learning how to do those things properly, and then my focus initially was just on making movies and then documentaries. And then to get profit from those, it takes a long time, because a movie might take a year or two to make. A documentary may take, at least the types that I make, may take a year or two to make. So in between, even if you had a budget, in between what happens,
How do you survive?
How do you survive?
And how do you thrive?
How do you thrive? Then I started making commercials. I think that that did the trick, and because then I started, because the turnaround for commercial is 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
So and sometimes the budget is the same as your movie and a documentary that is going to take 2 years. So then if I have at least 4 to 5 commercials a year, and then I have a passion project going on, then I can sustain myself. In certain years, I had more commercials. Then, of course, you have to do other things to also complement the business.
Any memorable commercials? Any ones that you're particularly proud of, especially in the early days?
The first commercial I did quite well. It was for Orange. It was called Mparanyetsa. Yes, it did quite well. It became number 1 in Spain, and it did quite well, and number 1 in West Africa.
Wow!
So it played in West. I didn't know at first. They told me later, because when I had filmmakers from West Africa coming over here, when I'm helping as the local producer, helping them, they said, "Oh, this is your work. It's doing quite well in Tanzania. It's doing well." I said, "What?" So
then you started investigating and you found it's true.
And the agency told me. Yes. After that, the agency told me, and but also there are many, because
what was unique about it? Can you tell us a few tidbits, since it's in the public domain?
Yeah. Well, I think I cast. Let me give credit to the actor. My team is I have a professional team, and so the production value is of the commercial is high, but also the casting was perfect. The lead actor, you just look at him. He just
what's his name? You don't remember? Utsile, a local chap.
Yes, it's a local chap. He started as a theater actor. He's an activist, so he's been in so many theater productions. So he's a funny guy. You look at him, you just start smiling. He can't help it. He's a born comedian.
Yeah.
So he just did stuff that just like made us laugh throughout. You know, it added so much humor in the it had the intended humor that we had, but also about the oats. Oats, about the oat salt into it, and it did quite well. And then we also did another one after that, youth, where
YDF. As in the ministry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Orange Youth. We just call it Orange Youth. Yes, it had some of the best dancers in the country. There we had the late Mamungwato was in it. So beautiful. So many great dancers. Sasa class, yes, and the Mopato dancers that you know today. Some of the combination that they're doing now with they started just got traditional dance, but now the trend, traditional dance and modern dance. We started it there with that commercial about 12 years ago.
Wow.
So and it did quite well. But the one that is also mostly loved is the commercial called Homecoming, where we see a retired mom coming from the home village in Mount Tohabrun.
Is that you? You sent it to me. That one I particularly loved.
Yes. So
that is very touching.
Yes. Can you
tell, for the benefit of the viewer, just summarize what it's about?
It's a story that tells a journey of a mother coming to the city to see her first grandchild, and for us we called it a summer commercial. Normally a summer commercial, people see people by the beach dancing and this, but wanted to do it differently. There's a retired mother who has worked hard all her life, so as she journey from the city, from the village to the city, she became a local tourist, going through all these places and photographing them. He said, "I'm building story, I'm planting seeds for my grandchild." You know, and she's enjoying herself. So you show that basically wanted to show that all of us at any age.
And for me, the culmination was... Okay, I interrupted you.
No,
at
it's
any
okay,
age,
go ahead.
At any age,
At any age, you have to live your life fully.
you can be a storyteller.
Yes.
Anytime, yeah.
At any time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now for me, also the highlight was at the end when she shared those pictures,
Yeah.
and some of them you had not seen her shoot before.
Yes.
So they were introducing new aspects to the movie as well.
That's a very good observation.
Yes, yes,
No,
yeah.
That's a very good
It was
observation.
brilliant. It was
Yes.
brilliantly done, and those actors that you had,
Yes.
that obviously somebody would be curious. How do you monetize something like that? How does it work? How does the actual business work?
Well, for the commercial, the turnaround is quite quick, so it helps. So if you for your whatever budget you have, and you said, okay, at least 40 to 30% of the whole budget should be a take home. So then, and you have more of those commercial. It doesn't happen like that all the time. More 30 than 40, because then you that turnaround. If you have more commercials, then you can make reasonable profit. But sometimes you have to do, like my biggest commercial, I decided against that. Only 5%.
Why?
5%, because it was, I won't disclose the budget, but it was my biggest budget. It was for Okavango Diamond Company. So I said, I want to put everything in this because I want this commercial to be, and we call it a short film. It was really a short film. I want this. I was investing, because you have to invest. So you can't always bank on profit in order to succeed as a business person. But sometimes you must sacrifice profit and invest. Either you invest on the product or you invest in talent.
In which case you get some residual income over time.
Yes. For example, the Orange Youth commercial, I was done casting it, and so as one day I was, I'm a coffee guy.
Croissant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so one day I was used to. Magenbin used to be my home. Yes, not anymore. I found other places. So as I was passing, going to my seat, and I saw this lady so beautiful, and she was with her mom. I was like, I want her in this commercial. So I sat and I spoke to her mom, and her mom said, okay, talk to her. And then I talked to her. She happened to be the first black Miss Norway.
Yes,
And
I've met her parents.
Yes, and her mother is Botswana, her dad is Norwegian.
I've actually met the parents.
Yes,
yeah.
and so I talked to her, and she agreed to be in the commercial. It means then that I'm going to minimize my profit and get this, but I benefited a lot because, and even the amount we paid her. It was way below her stand.
Yeah, she gave you a massive discount.
It was not even a discount. It was like she did us a favor.
Yeah.
She did us a favor.
Yeah.
So we gave her a big part in the commercial, and Orange was very happy to have somebody at her level be in the commercial, because right now she's in Styling Hollywood on Netflix.
Wow.
And
That's
she does, she's huge, and she does really big commercials and other things. So she's actively involved in Hollywood.
And how well did it do?
It did quite well. It did quite well. It became number 1 in France.
Wow.
And West Africa, and it was used all over Africa as a brand commercial for Orange, and so did actually for the emotive brand placement. Homecoming became was used for Africa as a sample of how to position a brand in an emotive way. Wow. So Homecoming did quite well, and that is a combination of a team that we work with, the agency that we work with on the the agency that we work with on Homecoming was FCB Wired. They had incredible writers that I work with. The team there is quite exceptional, and plus my team, all of us together.
When you come up with a commercial or movie, do you sit down and actually strategize in terms of working out the emotional element, the the educational element, the technology, seeing how things all blend together? Can you take us through what is involved in the process?
Well, first of all, you have to start with, is it an interesting story? But some of the things we imagine and they don't translate. Sometimes they, but majority of the time it helps. Some of the things that we've planned is translated. But the beauty is when the outcome exceed your expectations. Like for Homecoming, the outcome, because it was very long, was normally the commercials we make are 30 seconds, and then the long ones are a minute. And then this one was 2 minutes. But it did so well, so we were really surprised, and with no dialogue in between. So after when I finished, I said, but how am I going to sustain? How is the audience going to? How am I going to keep the audience interested when? In
other words, maintain their focus and attention.
Yes, maintain that focus and attention. How do I do that? So we edited the commercial. It was there. 2 minutes long. Last 5 or so seconds was a closing remark for our tagline. And so how do I do? So I started writing a song. And this song, I was like, I'm not going to overload it with lyrics. I'm only going to write a hook. So and I wrote a hook. And then Setswana in English. And so I went to the booth and I recorded it. And then I asked the talented lead actress and she came in and she sang it, and that then closed it, and Megawalapi.
Wow.
Yeah. And Mahalapi did an incredible job, even as a performer throughout. She was just amazing. And she's one of our legends here.
Yes.
And she had the youth didn't, she was almost in every scene. We shot it 8 days straight, and she was there with us throughout. So you work with your team and you test out.
Yeah.
So like you have a writers team, then we have the producers team, then the directors team. So you test that out, and you take things out that you think will not work, and you have to constantly do that. Yeah, you have to constantly do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about setbacks before setbacks, let's talk positive first. Successes and triumphs. The awards you won, how you won them, and which ones are you most excited about, and generally projects that you feel were super successful.
Well, I think my first documentary that I did before I went to film school, which was a combination of it was just a movement piece. I was just looking at traditional dance and ballroom dance, and looking how the two are different and how the two relate. So I didn't have much experience when I made that documentary. I had just taken a workshop before I went to film school there were Canadian filmmakers here, a couple, John Clement and Renee Gilbey, from Canada. They were working with Worldview Botswana.
Yes.
And so they had a workshop, and so we came, and I became the top student in the workshop, and later they hired me as a TA as they did other workshops. So during that time I did this documentary. I had one dance group, and I said I only want one dance, and then I went to Tlokweng Khotla, and then I recorded that one dance the whole day. They were so tired. And then I took a friend of mine who was the ballroom dance champion and her partner in Botswana, Edwin Terejo and Pelu Munsiwa then. And so they they gave me one dance, the ballroom dance, and so I shot this the whole night, and inside and then outside with the beauty of shadows as in movement. So I put this thing together, and as I applied to film school, I started sending it to few festivals that I don't say. So there was one in Chicago that picked it up, and it won the best student film. And then when I went to film school, then the director of the documentary department happened to have been at that festival. So she invited me to her class. And this was the fourth year, those who are finishing. So they watched the documentary. And after the class, one guy asked me, so when are you graduating? And I felt bad. But at that time, I just answered.
Why did you feel bad?
Well, I answered the question honestly. I said, well, this is my 5th day in film school. And so this guy just gave me this look like
shocked.
So he's looking at that documentary and probably had not made something like that, and he's finishing. And this young African boy is just coming, and he said, he's just starting, and he has that. So I was very proud of that documentary.
Wow.
And then later on, obviously my film did quite well around the world. And my first house in phase 2, they were able to sell it. It bought that my first house in phase 2.
Wow.
So I'm proud of that. So the biggest award is the little house for a 45-minute film.
Yeah.
And then obviously the documentary for Number One Ladies Detective Agency.
How did you get involved in that one?
Well,
is that McCall Smith?
Yes, but was hired by the late Anthony Minghella, the Oscar-winning director of The English Patient and Cold Mountain, to name the few.
Yes.
So what happened was...
It's a very big name in Hollywood.
Yes. So I was working on something else, and they were looking for a director to direct the behind the scenes. But they were not only looking for somebody to direct, but looking, because when you are doing the behind the scenes, they call it EPK, electronic press kit. When you are doing the EPK, you cannot disturb the action, because your film is not primary. The one that is being made is primary. Yours is secondary. It is enjoyed more after people have seen the film and say, how did we make that movie? And then they look at the EPK and say, wow, it brings beautiful memories. So I was responsible for that. But what happened is that they had other filmmakers from around the world who had experience in making such films, and the director Anthony Minghella was not quite happy with them. And so there's somebody who was a local lady Sorinyana. Mentioned he was working with him.
A Ghanaian name, Sorinyana.
Yes, the mother is from Kenya. The father is the famous educator Sorinyana.
Okay.
Even though he's famous in Kenya, but he's from Ramotso area. Yes. We claim him.
Yes. Yeah.
So the daughter mentioned, said, there's this filmmaker made this movie called Hot Chili. I think they wanted a director who can direct and shoot, who can film. And so I was asked, I was invited, I came. It was a big set with cameras and things like that. The lady had given them my movie Hot Chili. He liked it. He loved the music in Hot Chili, and he wanted me to advise also with the cultural aspects of the movie and with the music. And at that time, because I was busy doing something else, I was very silly. And after the interview, it was quite nice. He was very charming. I thought I was just going to walk out, but he charmed us. I came there with my younger brother, who I've been training since '98, and so the director at the end said, "Okay, no. So when do you start?" And and I said, I'm busy with this to an Oscar-winning director. How stupid can you be? And
you didn't know him then.
I did.
Yeah.
But I just said, let me be honest. Yeah. I did know. And I'd seen all his films. He's one of the filmmakers that I really love.
Yeah.
And then he held me by hand and took me to the producer, Timothy Bricknell. He said, Tim, yes, hire this young man. Don't listen to him. That was brilliant.
I like that.
But Tim said, he told me, yes, we're going to do that, but it's a test. There are other 3 filmmakers. There's one from the US and one from the UK. I forgot where the third one was from, and the one from SA. They've done EPKs before. So they've shot a scene and an interview. So you're going to do this the same. So the best out of this will be the one we hire. So they gave me a scene, and I shot a scene in Tsholofelo, and then another one at Bentama Primary School, and then I interviewed John Kani and the production designer, the person who built the sets, and I won.
Wow.
So
good story, man.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah.
So I'm proud of that documentary. And so it did well. I played on BBC.
Did you go to Oscar levels?
No, I think the EPKs, they don't put them there.
Okay.
Yes, because they're promotional.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
So it went to BBC.
It played on BBC and HBO, and then it's in the box set. Yeah, it's in the box set.
That's very good. So do you aspire for that? Oscars, Cannes Film Festival?
Well,
which ones do you aspire to be part of?
Cannes is the biggest, but the Oscars. The Oscar is the most beautiful girl, but Cannes is the most loyal girl.
How do you mean?
The girl you need is the Cannes.
Yeah.
It's filmmakers really festival. The Oscar is more celebrity. My point of view.
Yes.
My point of view. I may be wrong. Others may look at that. No, look, those are the biggest.
There's an academy behind.
Yeah, those are the biggest awards in the world. So all filmmakers want that, but you wanting them can be a problem too much. So the obsession can derail you from really
focusing
on your job. So I think majority of filmmakers at the beginning, they're obsessed with that. Then after 10 years in the business, you forget about that and you go on about the work. So I've long forgotten about that. And also because primarily also I haven't been making feature length projects consistently, and it's a problem with the landscape within Botswana, and also a problem not just with the landscape in Botswana, a problem with us Botswana, and me included. We are so comfortable being in Botswana and not going outside. Sometimes we have to understand that being a patriot, you become a patriot wherever you are. As long as you're doing well and you are representing your people well and you are representing yourself well.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah. But this is like when we were in film school, we are asked, no, come back home. And we came back home, and when we got home,
We'll talk about that. Well, speaking of the film industry in Botswana, we have Bollywood, obviously in India. We have Nollywood in Nigeria.
Nollywood.
Nollywood, eh?
Yes.
And then, I don't know, the South African one is called what?
I think they stopped with the woods. It is what it is.
It's South African film industry.
Yes.
So how do we compare with these others, and what is our positioning internationally?
We don't compare. I'll tell you why. We don't have an industry. South Africa has an industry. Nigeria has an industry. Bollywood is a huge industry. LA is an industry. So what we have good. We have tech shops. We run tech shops. So the industry happens when we are getting there. We're not there yet. When everything functions. So like when a movie is made, Moabi properties, it's like there's a movie here, they're going to use some of my property, I'm going to make money there. They're going to hire my construction guys, the hotels, they know there will be bookings and things like that. It's a big thing. It's like it's a production, it's a big thing. So productions of that scale, we've only had 2. We have number 1 Ladies Detective Agency and United Kingdom. That's not enough. And then obviously, yes, we have big documentaries like Raw, but those are more in Raw. Yeah, it's a IMAX documentary film, 25-minute film, but it was shot maybe by a family. It's in the tourism the
arena.
Tourism arena. So those are the films that do quite well in National Geographic and things like that. But you can't discount them. So, but in terms of the cinema going things, these are the 2 productions that have been. So we need
just
now
only 2
that had international recognition, because look, it has to be with budget also. So we have not yet invested on ourselves. So and I had thought that by coming back home and proving myself, I've proven myself time and time again. So, and no investment yet. So that's why I went corporate to sustain myself. But I'm an optimistic person. It will happen, but we are crawling towards it. We are crawling. We need to run.
To my next major point, which has to do with mindset change. Which is a really big thing. Right from the presidency, the last 2 years has been a buzz.
Yeah.
Is any of that happening? Are there any green shoots? Is there any sign that?
I hope it will happen, but not yet. But here's the thing for me. The way I'll do it, I know that Steve Harvey is coming and his team. Did he
come recently?
No, I meant to work.
Yeah.
I meant to work. But when somebody like that comes, you need to have also the ground ready for them. And I think that's where continuously as a nation we make a mistake. You can bring all the big people from outside. If the landscape is not ready for them, it means then that they'll go to SA to pick up equipment and other places to get a crew and things like that. And our crew become just the supporting the secondary crew, and we can't afford to be the secondary crew. We have to be the primary crew. So, and how do that happen? You have to invest first and foremost in your people, and you have to do a national diagnostic. Diagnose what is there and who is really, really, really good. Headhunt really talented people, because people who come outside, they will not care where and things like that and all this. I'm not saying that's what happens. Is that you cannot handpick talent. You have to allow talent to shine wherever it is. You cannot say blossoms. Yes. So as a nation, we have to have, that's the temperature that we need to operate at. Once you've done that, now when talent comes from outside, they say, oh my God, this is a great country. I'll give you an example. Spike Lee went to Asia to do his film called The Five Bloods. The Five Bloods, which is about black Vietnam veterans who went back some years later to heal, really, because the war really damaged them.
Yeah.
So
they're still suffering PTSD.
Yes, sir.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes, sir.
PTSD.
Yes, and then that means when he was working there, he had to work with Vietnamese crew. He was like, these guys are faster than the Hollywood crew. These guys are really, really good. So now, this is a really, really professional filmmaker who cannot stop singing praises about Vietnamese crew. You see, he could have just brought the the budget of that film was 45 million US. He can just have brought his
People
own
from
crew.
his, yeah.
Yeah. But the part of the rule is that, okay, you're going to shoot a film here. How are you going to work with our crew and things like that? And obviously, he's an experienced filmmaker. He's going to check the landscape first and see how the landscape is. And when you got there, it's like, oh my God, the landscape is superb. But of course, part of his key collaborators will be the people that work with him for all these years. And then, but the main support crew were from Vietnam. So that's why I created Mogorosi Incubator for the arts.
Okay,
so
let's
you
talk about that.
Yeah, so you have to incubate crew talent, so that when the time comes, they're ready. They understand, because the culture of cinema or film, it's one. It's one. It doesn't. They don't care whether you're in Botswana or in South Africa. You have to have what did they call a set etiquette.
Yeah.
If you don't have a set etiquette, you're fired.
Yeah,
so you need to have that. So if we don't have that, then
yeah, this leads me to my next. We'll go a little bit negative here. Talk about challenges and setbacks. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, you set Mogorosi Incubator to address a particular set of challenges. So what would you say are the setbacks and the challenges that you've encountered in your career?
Well, I'm always training people. Each production is not just me saying, okay, I want to do a commercial or I want to shoot a documentary on this. Say, always about 60 to 50% of the crew, I'm always training. So I don't have it easier than those in South Africa and other places. And this goes to all of us, not just me, all of us working in this landscape. And we do a lot with less. And you are forced to wear many hats.
Bootstrap a lot.
Yes, you have to wear many hats. For example, the person who is the head of the camera department, we call him a cinematographer or director of photography. So normally they will have a person who has the lighting department.
Yeah.
Normally they will have the person who has the lighting department, who calls the gaffer, who controls lighting, and then in the camera department also they will have so many people. So here, majority of the time, because of funds and other things, the cinematographer or director of photography, in other words, tends to also be the lighting director. Does his own if this microphone is a camera and these are a set of where you focus points for the lens, he has to film and then adjust the focus themselves and things like that. They do it all the time. You have to do it. Those who do documentaries, they do it all over the world. But when you run a film set, you'll have people who will do the focus for you, who will do the lighting for you. Then you move faster and it's more professional. So where we can afford, that's why I said when I was doing the Okovango Diamond Company short film, I invested 95% of all the funds for it into training and equipment, so that like the person, we have somebody who's skilled for Kaspula, and my cinematographer was quite happy because now there was somebody who understands his language, they can do fast. And then I had 3 Botswana understanding that for Kaspula, and then there were 3 studying the cinematographer. So other 3 studying the sound person. So I have to always be training people, and because
and they leave or they circulate within the
those that I train. Yeah, the way we do it is not necessarily for them to work for me, but it's to have a professional crew. Yeah, majority of them leave, not in a bad way. They leave because circumstances force them to leave. They have to. But also as part of me recruiting them, I said, no, come, I'll pay you, but also you learn from those who know better. Well, not who know better, those who have more experience.
All right. I really I'm keen on these things. Setbacks make a man. I've had, you've seen my book, I share quite some devastating setbacks, and some of them I call them cataclysmic events.
Yes.
What would you say was one such event for you, if any, and are you willing to share some of them?
Yes. I came back from the US as a student when I was 28 years old, and I thought I did my first film. Well,
As
I did others.
Or as a graduate?
As a graduate, I was 28 years old, and so I thought by age 30 I would have done my big movie, and so the success of Hot Chili it's quite big, and I was in all media platforms, and I was like, yeah, this is it, and pledges were made, and so
in form of words or letters?
Both. And even in Parliament, so it went all over, but none of that materialized. And I remember some of the people who gave those pledges. I went because I had a lot of energy. I went to to all their offices. Like every day I went. It's like, hey, so say you pledge 2 million. Where is it? And never came. So
what explanation would they have?
Some of them forgot who I am, who I was. It's like, what? Who are you? They didn't know who I was.
I'm glad you can laugh about it.
Who are you?
Really?
Yeah.
After writing a letter pledging to support your film?
Yes.
Your next film project?
Yes.
To cover the cost.
Which I had written already. So yeah. And then, but also with the national television station also, you'll find that not many products happen. So I was part of the group that did a documentary series called Botswana in 1985. And since then, I've been said one of the leading producers in the country. But after that, blackout from the national broadcaster, total blackout. So, and I survived, and I'm very proud of myself because I'm standing tall and proud and happy with who I am, but with zero support from it might change now with the current leadership at Botswana National Television, but
what do other countries do for the arts? Do they give grants?
Yeah, they give grants, but also the professional funding bodies that are set up. We fought for the National Arts Council for more than 25 years. It's now there. We don't know what form it will become. Hopefully, it will be there. But now we need to have the Botswana Film Commission. You need all those things to be there in order to happen.
So, in what way was this a setback? What, if you like, prejudice did you suffer?
Well, partly, I think it's part of lack of knowledge. I would say that of how the certain things work, and also with the national broadcaster. I think because it's not a public broadcaster, so it's not forced to be competitive. If it was a public broadcaster and it's forced to be competitive, it's forced to depend on its marketing budget to survive. Then they will force to headhunt really talented people, but they don't have to. So it's charity. So it's done on it's not run as a business. It's run on as a I don't know as just another department.
But you obviously have to dust yourself up and
you have to. You have to. The question is like, why do you become a filmmaker? When I went to film school, there was no Botswana television. There was no now. So I said, I'm going to make films. I'll hire myself and things like that. So sometimes instead of crying, I said, okay, what was the motivation when I started? What is the? But it has, and also because you'll find that you were right. I was looking at one of my applications, really thoroughly done, and somebody was looking at us and say, this is a very professional pitch deck, and then said, "Hey man, why don't you do this? How can you teach me how to do this?" And when I looked at the dates when I first did it, was 20 years ago.
Oh,
20-year-old proposal. That will kill someone.
Yeah.
So, and I think the other things that I do, I tell stories on stage. I still do. I'll be in South Africa with other storytellers, and the commercials they help, and just going to schools teaching for free. I think
sometimes you have to give things for free.
For free, yes.
For you to get the necessary gravitas.
Yes. So all those things they help, and now also sometimes because the landscape is not there yet, so it means that you're constantly training. Like how I cast, sometimes I look at a face that I feel it suits my work, and it doesn't mean that those people are always trained. So those people that you pick from the street and you see them doing quite well and turning things around, that is a source of inspiration to say, okay, I'm contributing something here. And those are
you and
things.
I met was because I have a billboard.
Yes.
And I want to monetize it and sort out problems around it. And I hear that you know a thing or two about the billboard business. What can you tell us?
Well, I don't.
What's your involvement?
My involvement is from content, from a point of view of content. So I create content that
for billboards.
Not really for billboards. I create content for television, and then I said, okay, if now this has to be on a billboard, so I have to now look at the visual aspect of it. What is the most catching thing that somebody can look at it and find interesting while they're driving? So
without causing an accident.
Yeah, without without causing an accident, and that's exactly that. So it means that there's no sound. So you have to be good visual storyteller, and so even somebody walking, for them to glance at your billboard, even if whether it's motion or still, it has to be a picture that communicates. If the picture doesn't communicate, why should it?
How long have you been creating billboard content, and how successful have you been there?
Well, for 15 years, but I wouldn't say personally. I'll say the success is with the team that I work with. I work with two top agencies, being FCB Wired, and so they understand. So together we work together. They do the marketing, I do the content creation.
You mentioned one.
Yes, and then the dialogue group.
Okay.
Yes. So they're both leading agencies in the country, and so together we really debate issues, work on test things. It's not just a picture that you put it up there. It has to tell a story, and it goes back to my training when I was in film school. The first day we were given a camera and say, go and take 20 pictures and bring. You must tell a story with those pictures. And then we came back. This was 95, and majority of us, the story, the pictures did not work because we didn't understand that, or people didn't understand that a story. You'll find that you've taken a story from one angle and same size frame, and it doesn't say anything. Or even if you have the right angle, but the space between the subject and the foreground and the background does not work. All those elements. So quickly you wake up and say, oh my God, okay, this is, it's not just a piece of, I have to understand how this thing. So many years of trying, failing has sharpened our eye to know how to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of the explosion of social media and the just proliferation of content out there, how do you maneuver the advertising space and marketing space where you are active?
Well, that's why I always tell people it's storytelling. So a new technology will always come. And so the thing that will always stand, are you a good storyteller? And because if you're a good storyteller, if certain things you don't understand, you can team up with somebody who understands how to use AI, how to use this, then they can workshop you. But at the end of the day, the thing that grabs your attention, there's an interview, one of the podcasts with Cat Williams. It's 3 hours long. What captivates people is the story.
He's sitting at the edge of it.
Yes.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah.
But it's the storytelling is what is being said that catches people's attention. If you had told me 20 years ago that there will be a podcast that will last 3 hours longer than the biggest movie, I was like, no ways it won't work. But it works because good stories are captivating. So it goes back to that.
No, that's very true. Now, time for a crystal ball question. What do you see 10, 20, 30 years for your brand, Moabi, Mogorosi, and let's talk about also Abi Films and Mogolokwane Incubator. Just feel free to just paint the picture for us.
I've been building a very strong foundation for the past 25 years. So I think the foundation is solid. So now whatever I build on top of this foundation that I laid is going to stand. So I see, and there's examples of that. The documentary we did for Nampali's detective agency, commercials, So sorry for that.
No, ignore it. Just
okay. So I think the foundation that we've built, it's solid enough to make sure that in the next 10, 20 years, our films will be not only seen in Botswana, but will be seen around the world. We've been building networks not only in Botswana, around the world. The producers of Number One Ladies Detective Agency, we, based on the documentary that I did and some of the ideas I've shared with them, now that is part of my network. And many others, when I do commercials, I work with people from here, South Africa, and many around the world. So those are my networks. And in 98, I took a break to do my master's in theater. And so I built a huge network from Wits University. So met incredible actors. So I think with the help, because filmmaking and storytelling is not a one person's job. So I think with a combination of all these people, we will help each other, we'll collaborate and make things that are amazing.
What is HE and Steve Harvey seeking to achieve in the context of this 10, 20, 30 year framework?
I wouldn't be the best person placed to answer that. But are you
not part of what they're doing?
Not yet. Not yet. So no, I'm not. But I think once it is open to the industry, then I guess somebody like myself cannot be left out. But I think this is what I meant earlier on. I said the landscape has to be ready. So if the teams is looking for other professionals to help them do their work, they'll be forced to come to other people who know what they're doing, including myself. So that's the only way out, because it's always good to start where you are and then open yourself out. For things that I'm not primarily in charge of or in control of, I can always hope that it will work quite well.
But in principle, yeah, it's a brilliant idea in principle.
Yes.
If it picks up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, time for you to hit me with a question, sir, if you have one.
Yes. From Modisa to entrepreneur of note. What is it about that Modisa that has made the man that is interviewing me now What?
I'll pick 2 points which I share in the book. You have to read the book for yourself. But I didn't know when I was 7 years old, be made to collect water from long distances, or from one kota to the other like that I was receiving entrepreneurial training. I didn't know when I was moving from Makatanyani to Mazaka, to go to school and back, walking those distances of an average of 20 kilometers either way at those young ages. I didn't know I was receiving entrepreneurial training. I didn't know when my feet were getting cut and blood was coming out. I didn't know that was entrepreneurial training. But looking back, because I always say, I like Steve Jobs' description, or you connect the dots backwards.
Yes.
Connecting the dots backwards. It seems to me that if I've not had hardship like I had early, I wouldn't have gotten where I am. So sometimes I've destroyed my children without intending to, by giving them a very comfortable life.
Yeah.
They did. They are now experiencing that hardship, entrepreneurial hardship, as they now get into business, as they now given places of responsibility to the organization. But because they haven't felt it, they haven't walked it, they haven't really felt raw, tough circumstances. Although at the time, the funny thing is that I was enjoying them then. I used to enjoy walking a lot, long distances.
Yes.
And I never thought of it those days as any kind of suffering. I thought this was normal.
Yeah, it was.
So to answer your question, that is the thing about that Musimane, Musimanyana, which I talk about in the Nuggets of Grit.
Yeah.
And if I go any further, then I'll stop you from buying the book.
I'll definitely buy it, because that's the good thing about sharing stories, because when I read David Mahan's Magic of Perseverance, I didn't think I could relate with him before I read that book. Then when I read it, I realized that the background with mine is similar. So I was like, oh, okay. He's not just a Pakalani person. It's somebody who, our stories are similar.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and as you are narrating yours, is similar to mine.
Yeah.
So
it's wonderful. It goes back to what you say about storytelling.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as we conclude our conversation, Mogorosi, look at that camera, this one, and just talk to the viewer by way of a motivational message of some kind, something that is inspirational and benefit to them as we wrap up.
It's important to celebrate oneself every day, to give yourself love first, so that you can share that love with others, and understand why all of us we are created with something special. So it's important for one to know that it's easier to be envious of others, but that envy should only be used for inspiration, nothing else, and remind yourself that you are also special. If you look at yourself and celebrate who you are, then you'll be an inspiration to others, because we are all of us created with everything that we need to survive and to excel in this world. The question is, are you motivated enough to find that within yourself, because it's there? So if you have that trust, definitely you will get there, guaranteed.
Wonderful. Where do they reach you? Share your socials, all your contacts.
Facebook, Moabi Mogorosi, and
WhatsApp or landline.
WhatsApp 7286 7790 7286 7790. Yes, landlines are dead.
Yeah.
So those I could be reached there. And so yeah, the other thing that I think sport helps to keep. So for me, it's martial arts.
Martial arts.
Yes.
Are you now a fifth dan?
I refuse to grade. So each time I reach a blue belt, I've been a blue belt for 25 years.
You should be a fifth dan by now.
Yes.
But are you going
But I
up?
train. Yes, I train. So some of the people I train with, majority of them are fifth, sixth dan. And even when we refer to each other, it's like sensei.
Yeah.
Even though I'm officially not sensei.
Why do you refuse to grade?
It was a really silly thing. In 1989, probably 89, my sensei said I failed the test because he wanted me to I was the leader of the under green belts. And so when I learned that the person who was testing us had promoted me to purple belt, I got angry. And so I said, I'm never going to test, I'm just going to train.
Yeah.
And so one day he tested me in the club and just gave me the blue belt.
Yeah.
And said, are you going to refuse to get your blue belt? I said, no, sensei, I'm not going to refuse.
Yeah.
So that blue belt was it.
Yeah.
Even when I was in the US, I studied different martial arts,
Yeah.
kung fu, this. When I reached blue belt,
Jiu-jitsu and all these
yes.
others, yeah.
When I reached blue belt, I
Brazilian
said,
one, what's it called?
yes. And when I reach a blue belt, I stop. But
Yeah.
I don't stop training. So I run and I train. Even though the last few years I've been not running, slowing down.
It's very good.
But yeah, it's
It goes with diet as well.
yes.
That's why you've maintained your youth.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it helps with the focus also.
You look
It gives
very
you
beautiful.
it gives
But
you the endurance.
from what you've been sharing, we're probably my age mates of sorts. But
Yeah.
you look very youthful.
I don't know. I'm 50 this year.
Yeah. So I'm also in my 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm turning 50 in October.
That's great. That's great. All right. So, dear listener, viewer, please let me remind you to strike that notification bell and the subscribe button. And of course, don't forget to buy the book. As my guest is going to be doing. Thank you, sir. You've been a great guest.
Thank you very much. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.